I want to talk about the liver. The liver is one of the accessory organs that are part of the digestive tract. The digestive tract is basically composed of the alimentary canal and the accessory organs. The alimentary canal is all of the structures that food passes through when we're eating and digesting food, right? We chew food in our mouth, we swallow, it goes down the esophagus into the stomach. The stomach is very acidic and we start emulsifying our foods. And then it moves into the small intestine. The small intestine is actually where the majority of digestion occurs with digestive enzymes and bile, and it's where the majority of absorption occurs when the broken down molecules, food molecules, are absorbed into the bloodstream. Then as food passes through the small intestine, it reaches the large intestine, and then waste products are eliminated out of the body. So when we look at the accessory organs, we're looking at the liver, the pancreas, and the gallbladder. So in this video, I want to focus on what the liver does that is so important for the functioning of all of the rest of our body, and what kinds of symptoms you would feel if your liver wasn't functioning properly. The liver is exceptionally important for helping our body to regulate blood sugar. When we think about blood sugar, we often think about the pancreas that makes insulin, right? So we eat food, the blood sugar goes up. Insulin is made by the pancreas that tells our cells to take up that glucose and then brings our blood sugar back down. But the liver plays a really important role in doing things with those either extra nutrients or playing a role in breaking down the stored nutrients during periods of time when we're not eating or when we're burning more calories or need more energy than normal, like exercise or stress, or fasting. So those processes, we have glycogenesis, which is when we produce glycogen from glucose. Extra glucose can be stored as a carbohydrate called glycogen in the liver or in the muscles. And then when we need to break this down to increase blood sugar so that we can make energy, then that process is called glycogenolysis. The hormone that stimulates that process is a pancreas hormone called glucagon. The liver can also make glucose to keep our blood sugar stable in periods of time when we're not eating by making other molecules into glucose. So the liver can convert amino acids and the glycerol part of fats and pyruvate and lactate and other molecules to create glucose. And that helps to keep our blood sugar stable during periods of time when we're not eating or burning more energy than we're consuming. The liver can also make fats from extra food that we eat, and that's called lipogenesis. So when you eat more of anything in a meal, we always store it as either glycogen, but only a small amount. And then the rest is stored as fat. Whether you eat more fat, more carbs, or more protein, anything extra is stored as fat. So that process is lipogenesis, and we store that fat in our adipose tissue under our skin. And then we have the process, the reverse process, which is called lipolysis. Lysis means to break down, just like glycogenolysis is breaking down glycogen. So lipolysis is when we break down that stored energy, which is fat, so that we can either make glucose or we can use that fat directly to make energy. So all of those processes are really important for regulating our blood sugar and for regulating how our cells use either glucose or fat to make energy. Our body should be able to make energy out of sugar and fat, whichever is available, right? And so if the liver is being damaged, let's suppose you're exposed to too many toxins, because your liver is really involved in detoxifying and it can get overloaded. And then if the liver can't function properly, then you will start to feel the effects of dysregulated blood sugar. And those feelings will include the typical feelings of feeling dizzy and weak, but also fatigue and lethargy. You will have sugar cravings. You might crave carbs or crave fats. It will affect your mood. So depression, anxiety, irritability, those kinds of things can be related to blood sugar dysregulation. Also, if you have difficulty losing weight, and if you try to go a period of time without eating, say 16 hours, if you wake up in the morning, you've had your dinner the night before at say 7 p.m., you should be able to fairly easily go until about 10 or 11 in the morning the next day. So about 16 hours without eating. If that's extremely difficult and you feel like you're hypoglycemic, or you get nauseous, or you feel very dizzy, or you get a headache, or your heart races, and you're not able to make your body switch into burning fat, then something might be happening with your liver. Okay? And I'm going to keep talking about all the things your liver does and what you can do about it. If our liver for a long period of time is not able to regulate blood sugar and blood fat and lipid metabolism, then that can lead to fatty liver disease. It can lead to type 2 diabetes, chronic fatigue syndrome, neurological stuff, mood and ability to concentrate, that kind of thing. And it can affect your immune system. So we want to make sure that our liver is functioning optimally as much as possible. I mentioned that the liver makes bile. Bile is that substance that is made in the liver. It's stored in the gallbladder. And then when you eat fat, that bile is released into the small intestine to help us digest fat. Now, bile is composed of cholesterol and all kinds of other molecules, but also it contains the liver's waste products. So the way that the liver gets rid of waste, two things can happen. One, some breakdown products will go into the blood and then the kidneys will excrete it. Or it will go into the bile and then it will be put into the small intestine. And then we need to be able to excrete that with our digestive waste. This is why it's very important to have a bowel movement every day. Because if you don't, then those waste products, those toxic molecules can be reabsorbed back into your bloodstream. So it's really important to have fiber in your diet and lots of water and, exercise, and making sure that you're having a daily bowel movement so you're not reabsorbing toxins back into the blood. If your liver is not functioning properly, some of the symptoms you might see if it's not making bile is you'll have digestive upset. You won't be able to digest fat properly, so you'll have heartburn and indigestion. You'll feel full for a really long time. You might have some abdominal pain, which can be either because of the liver itself or because of the digestive system being too slow. If you have floating poop, that means that you're not digesting fat properly. That could also be a pancreas problem, but it might be because your liver isn't making enough bile. Same with pale bowel movements. That's showing that the liver is not making enough bile. Bile, because it has a yellow pigment, which I'll talk about in a second actually, it makes your bowel movements brown, some shade of brown. So if it's a gray, then that's a lack of bile production. Your liver also produces lipoproteins. So low density lipoproteins are the fat protein molecules that help to carry fats through the bloodstream to get to the adipose tissue where you store your fat. If your liver can't produce LDLs and transport that fat, then it'll be stored in the liver. And if you have excess fat, either in your diet or too much carbs being converted into fat, then that can start to be stored in the liver, and that can cause fatty liver disease. Your liver also stores extra fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A, D, E, and K, and your liver stores trace minerals and like iron and zinc and magnesium and calcium and those kinds of molecules. We also store a lot of minerals in our bones, but your liver will store quite a lot of nutrients, and then it will release them into the bloodstream when the body needs it. And this is actually one reason why eating liver is so healthy, because it's full of stored vitamins and minerals. We need vitamins and minerals for every chemical reaction in the body. Vitamins and minerals act like coenzymes or cofactors for chemical reactions that are involved in every single thing from making energy to protein synthesis, making hormones, neurotransmitters, your nervous system, your muscle contraction. Everything requires vitamins and minerals. So if your liver isn't properly storing and releasing those, then the whole rest of your body won't actually be able to function properly, and you'll feel fatigue and dragged down and low mood and just not feeling optimal. Your liver produces urea. So when we break down proteins, one of the waste products is ammonia, which is very alkaline or basic. So we need to not have that in our blood because it'll affect our blood pH, and our blood pH needs to be stable. So the liver converts ammonia into urea. That then goes into the bloodstream, and then the kidneys excrete it. The liver breaks down red blood cells. Red blood cells contain hemoglobin that bind to oxygen, and that's how we circulate oxygen throughout the body. All of our cells in our whole body need oxygen to make energy. So when the liver, and the spleen does this too, breaks down the hemoglobin component, it's converted into a molecule called bilirubin. So a minute ago I said bile is yellow, right? Well, that bilirubin molecule is the yellow molecule that makes bile yellow. So bilirubin is essentially a waste product that the liver gets rid of by dumping it in the bile that we then excrete. If our liver can't properly deal with breaking down hemoglobin and getting rid of the bilirubin, then it can build up. And we will notice that in the whites of our eyes and our skin, and will look yellow, and that's called jaundice. Usually that's a late stage symptom. So somebody that has cirrhosis of the liver or hepatitis or liver cancer could end up looking jaundice, and that's a sign that the liver is really not doing well. The liver also, as I said in the beginning, breaks down toxins. It's one of the main detoxifying organs in our whole body. So it takes everything from drugs, alcohol, hormones, heavy metals, plastic, pesticides, herbicides, preservatives, artificial flavorings, forever chemicals, formaldehyde, all of the industrial pollution, all of those things that we're exposed to. Our liver primarily deals with those. So when our liver has more toxins to deal with than it can handle, then those toxins can start to build up in our body. So then a few things can happen. When we start to have a buildup of toxic molecules, the brain will feel it really early on. And so it can affect your cognition, your ability to focus, brain fog, mood, so depression, anxiety, feeling anger and fear or confusion or any of those kinds of things can indicate an excess of toxins or heavy metals. When the liver starts to get overwhelmed with toxins, you'll lose your appetite, you can have abdominal pain, nausea and vomiting. Also dark urine, which is a sign that the kidneys are now trying to help get rid of toxins. And then also, because other organs help also to get rid of toxins, you can have other symptoms when they start to get overloaded. So for example, your skin detoxifies things, and we put waste products in our sweat. So someone whose liver is overwhelmed may sweat more. Okay, so if you have profuse sort of unexplained sweating, and then if you also have a lot of bad habits and you don't eat very well and you have inflammation and other things going on, that excessive sweating can actually be an indication that your liver is overwhelmed, especially if the sweat has a bad odor. Another thing is that your skin might start to show rashes or breakouts of acne because your skin is trying to get rid of toxins. And then bad breath, because your respiratory system also helps you get rid of waste. So carbon dioxide is a waste product, and having bad breath, sometimes you can smell like alcohol on someone's breath or acetone. We get rid of a lot of things through our breath as well. So bad breath can be an indication of liver function. It might also mean microbiome, oral microorganisms in your mouth are affected, but it can be liver as well. So the liver excretes heavy metals and trace metals. So heavy metals that we never use for anything, but also trace metals that we use but are in excess, like zinc and copper and magnesium and chromium and things like that. So our liver can get rid of those. And our liver will synthesize plasma proteins. So this one is important. They all are. But when your liver produces the plasma protein albumin, this is a molecule that helps to hold the fluid inside of our cardiovascular system, in our blood vessels. And because normally fluid leaves the blood vessels and goes into the tissues, and then the lymphatic system picks up that extra tissue or fluid and puts it back into the circulatory system. So if the liver is not functioning and it's not making albumin, that means it's not holding fluid in the blood vessels, which means more fluid will leave the blood vessels and go into the tissues. So then the symptom is that you will have swelling or edema. So swollen ankles or lower legs, big swollen puffy pouches under your eyes, swollen fingers, those kinds of things could indicate liver issues. It could also be kidney and blood pressure, but it could also be liver. Your liver also produces a molecule called fibrinogen. This is a molecule that helps blood clotting. If you cut yourself or bang yourself and injure blood vessels, then blood leaves the vascular system and goes into the tissues or outside, and it can cause bleeding or bruising. So we make fibrinogen to minimize that. So people with liver damage or their liver isn't functioning properly, they will bleed more or bruise more than normal. Another thing is that it makes insulin-like growth factor, which is basically a molecule stimulated by growth hormone. And this molecule is important for regenerating cells and building proteins, like collagen connective tissue in between the cells. So if the liver can't produce this molecule, then growth and regeneration become more difficult. So one sign of this would be poor wound healing. So if it takes you a long time to heal from a cut or a scrape, then something could be happening with your liver. It could be immune cells or the immune system, but it could also be liver. The liver activates vitamin D. Vitamin D is produced from cholesterol in our skin when we're exposed to UVB light from the sun. And when we first make that molecule, it's a precursor, and then the liver activates it. Vitamin D is really, really important for being able to absorb calcium in the digestive tract. And so if you become vitamin D deficient because your liver can't activate it, then you might notice differences in your bone density. And then also vitamin D is really important for regulating the immune system. So not enough vitamin D can cause increased infections. You're more susceptible to getting sick all the time, and increased inflammation or increase in symptoms of autoimmune disease. So vitamin D is really, really important for the immune function. Other immune functions that your liver is involved in, it makes complement proteins. These complement proteins circulate in the blood all the time and help to directly kill pathogens. And then our liver also has immune type cells called Kupffer cells that are involved in getting rid of old dead cells or helping to detoxify. And if the liver is starting to be damaged or increased inflammatory reactions are occurring because of toxin buildup, then these Kupffer cells as well as mast cells can be overactivated. Now, mast cells produce a molecule called histamine. So if you've ever had an allergic reaction, maybe you have taken an antihistamine. So histamines are the molecules that we normally associate with allergic reactions. And that histamine molecule can also make you very itchy. So sometimes people with liver dysfunction have unexplained itchy skin. Okay, so if it's not an allergic reaction, you haven't been around poison ivy or your friend's cat or whatever, itching can be a sign of liver dysfunction because of mast cell activation. So generally that is about the immune system, increasing inflammation. It can also be about toxins stimulating that inflammatory response in the liver. So I want to talk about how you can know if your liver is dysfunctional. And one thing that you can do is you can do blood tests and you can look at liver enzymes. Liver enzymes are an indication of how hard your liver is working. So if these enzymes are elevated, then you know that your liver is working overtime. So these enzymes include alkaline phosphatase, alanine transaminase, aspartate transaminase, and gamma glutamyl transferase. This last one, GGT, is pretty much the main one that is used to see if someone is over consuming alcohol or taking too many medications or drugs. Then the liver will increase that because that enzyme has a specific role in metabolizing drugs and alcohol. Now, what can we do to help support our liver? There's actually a whole bunch of things that we can do. There's foods and herbs and spices and things that all contain really great molecules that help our liver to function. On this slide, I want to show you the basic things that actually help any health condition, especially if you have chronic inflammatory conditions, if you have metabolic issues, cardiovascular disease, mood problems. These specific things are going to help with all of that. Avoiding toxins. Number one, not just for our liver, but for all of the cells in our whole body. We don't want to have more toxins in our body because they damage our DNA, they damage cells, damage proteins and cell membranes, and then our cells can't function properly. Right? Then we can't make energy and mood molecules and have a proper metabolism. So decreasing all kinds of things that we know are bad for us. That includes things in our water, right? So there's all kinds of things like medications and fluoride and chemicals like bleach and, forever chemicals and pesticides and things that are in the water that are not completely filtered out at the water cleaning plant. So thinking about a good water filter is not a bad idea. And then eating whole organic or preferably homegrown food that you know is grown in good soil that contains trace minerals. We need to put all those healthy molecules into our body so that our liver and the rest of our cells have the building blocks to be able to repair and regenerate. Time-restricted eating is really important because during that period of time in the day when we're not eating, it actually signals our cells to do a sort of cleanup process where we get rid of old damaged cells, old organelles. It helps to calm the immune system down. It just basically helps our body get rid of things. And so all of our cells will go through this process called autophagy or autophagy when our body gets rid of things. And if our normal, all the rest of our cells can do this, it takes the load off of the liver. So spending at least about 14 to 16 hours every day not eating will help your body clean things out. Getting enough sleep is really important because a lack of sleep is very stressful on your body. When you have a lot of stress, you make a lot of stress hormones like cortisol that increase inflammation, and we want to decrease inflammation. So managing stress is really important, and then adding in physical activity. Physical activity is great for mood hormones, for metabolism, for helping your body to learn how to use fats for energy. There's all kinds of reasons why we want to have exercise or some kind of physical activity in our life. I have other videos about that. So then just really quickly, I want to go through a whole list of things that contain really beneficial molecules that can help your liver either detoxify substances, it can help your liver cells regenerate, or it can help decrease the immune response, decrease inflammation. So by acting like an antioxidant, right, that helps to get rid of those radical oxygen molecules that damage cells and damage DNA. So colorful foods contain different kinds of antioxidants. So anything colorful is going to have benefits for that inflammatory part. So if we look at things like garlic and onions, Garlic and onions contain sulfur amino acids, as do homegrown or organic chicken eggs, by the way. The yolk contains sulfur molecules that are very, very beneficial for helping the liver to detoxify, and particularly heavy metals. Also, the quercetin and allicin molecules are really great anti-inflammatories. Quercetin helps immune cells take up zinc that we need for regulating the immune response. Omega-3 fatty acids. This is an essential fatty acid, so we have to consume it. Our body can't make it, and we get most of that from cold water fish, or you could take a supplement like fish oil, krill oil. I like krill oil more, bioavailable. I'll write an article about that sometime. Seal oil, or you can also get some from flax seeds and chia seeds and things like that. Omega-3 fatty acids, really important for decreasing that inflammatory response, also for healthy cell membranes, so cells can communicate with each other. Vitamin C rich foods are really important because they also act like antioxidants. They help the liver to detoxify substances, and vitamin C helps the liver to regenerate. Vitamin C helps collagen proteins get from the inside of the cell to the outside of the cell in that intracellular matrix where we have connective tissue that is basically holding us all together. We want to eat green plant foods because they contain chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is a molecule that helps us make energy, and it's an antioxidant, so anything green is going to be super great. And many, many spices have all kinds of different molecules that are really, really good for liver functions, also help us digest food, control that immune inflammatory response. So include things like turmeric and ginger, cardamom, cinnamon, oregano, basil, cayenne pepper, cloves. All kinds of herbs are going to have a whole variety of different molecules that are beneficial. Beets are really good because they contain the betaine molecules that dilate your blood vessels and increase blood flow and lower your blood pressure. Increasing blood flow to your brain or your liver or to other tissues helps those tissues to have oxygen and nutrients to be able to function properly. They're also really great anti-inflammatories. Artichokes are actually particularly good at helping the liver to produce bile. We want the liver to produce bile, fill the gallbladder. The gallbladder contracts when we eat fat and pushes all of that bile into the small intestine. This is how we clean out toxins and also maintain the health of the gallbladder itself. And you can prevent gallstones if your bile production and flow is really healthy. Artichokes also help the liver to regenerate. Milk thistle and dandelion, really, really great supplements for helping the liver detoxify, regenerate, decrease inflammation. And then polyphenols, there's thousands of polyphenols in plant foods, and they have a whole host of health benefits, including decreasing inflammation. They're anti-cancer, they increase blood flow, they improve cell regeneration. They're just very, very good molecules for helping the enzymes in our cells naturally to repair and regenerate and heal themselves. So things that contain polyphenols, all plant foods will contain some amount, but some that are particularly useful and beneficial would be your onions, cabbage, dark chocolate, coffee, berries. Berries should be organic because non-organic berries are often sprayed with pesticides and herbicides. So you don't want to be taking in toxins when you're trying to detoxify. Red grapes or red wine, again, only small amount of red wine so that you're not overloading your liver with alcohol to break down. But those contain resveratrol, which is a really good antioxidant. Things like apples and pumpkin seeds and green tea and chaga tea, nuts, olives, beans. You know, there's lots of foods. I put a little list up on the screen for you. So try to include a bunch of those. The other benefit to polyphenols is that it helps your healthy gut microbiome. When we have a good healthy microbiome, those organisms in our large intestine actually help to break down toxins that come in with our food before they're even absorbed into the blood. So if we can help the liver by not letting things into the body in the first place, then that's also beneficial. The last thing that I want to talk about with respect to supporting the liver is a molecule called NAC, or N-acylcysteine. When our liver makes a molecule called glutathione, it is made from 3 amino acids: cysteine, glutamine, and glycine. And glutathione is one of the body's most amazing and natural potent antioxidants. Glutathione helps your liver and your other cells to get rid of those free radicals, those inflammatory molecules that are created from either toxins or inflammatory reactions. Your immune cells make these things in order to try to get rid of bad things. But then we need to be able to mop up those free radicals so that they don't damage healthy cells. So we want to be able to make glutathione. So foods that are high in cysteine and glutamine include our meat, fish, eggs, and dairy, because animal products are complete protein sources. So they will contain all amino acids. You'll also find cysteine in things like garlic and broccoli and peppers. And then glutamine, you will also find that in nuts, beans, cabbage, and leafy greens. You can actually get NAC as a supplement. You can get glutamine as a supplement. And glycine you can get as a collagen supplement or in gelatin. But you can actually also make glycine by boiling connective tissue. So glycine is an amino acid that's really high in bones, cartilage, and skin. And that's why consuming it is good for our bones, cartilage, and skin. And so boiling those tissues, whether it's from a cow or a pig or a chicken, it doesn't matter. Add in all kinds of healthy herbs, your oregano and parsley and basil and turmeric and ginger and whatever you want to put in there. Make it taste really good, and you can have a really good natural source of glycine. The extra added cool benefit of glycine is that it is a calming neurotransmitter. So we can actually use it directly in our brain to help us decrease anxiety. So if you have a lot of stress, boil some bones, make yourself some chicken soup. So there's lots of things that we can do to help support our liver. And I want to conclude by saying that each of these things by themselves seems like a small thing, but when you accumulate lots of small, healthy, good things, it will eventually have a really good effect in your body. Think about an example of something that's not good. You have one bad habit. Here's a simple example. Putting your wallet in the same back pocket and sitting on that wallet all the time. That tiny little shift in how you sit has an effect on your vertebrae and then on the nerves and on the muscles. And eventually, people from just simply putting their wallet in their back pocket can have all kinds of back pain. So just as bad habits can accumulate, you have bad posture, you sit at a desk too long and you slouch, then you're going to start to have neck pain. And just, one day of slouching doesn't seem like it should be that big of a deal, but bad habits accumulate and good habits accumulate. So when you keep trying to remove the bad stuff and just keep adding in the good stuff, you will see a positive shift in your liver's health and in the health of your whole body.